Hey, welcome back to Beast Analytics. I'm Brie E Anderson, and today we're going to be talking about Facebook page insights and how they can help you and your business. But first, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and even hit the little bell so every single time I post a video, you get notified. All right, today we're going to be talking about Facebook page insights. So if you have a Facebook page and you see the navigation at the top of your page, you will see a tab that says Insights. This is actually really important because it gives you a good idea of what's going on your page, what's working, what's not working. So the first thing you see is this page summary. It usually defaults to the past 7 days. So I know a lot of people have probably been hit pretty hard in the last 7 days, but it defaults to the last 7 days. You can change it just by clicking right next to page summary where it says last 7 days. If you click that last 7 days in blue text, you can do today, yesterday, 7 days, or 28 days. Those are the only options you get here. So if you start to go through, you will see that on this summary page, we can see how many page views there were, and that just means how many people actually came to your page and looked through your page. Page previews talks about how many times people hovered over your page to kind of get an idea of what was going on. So like if you popped up in their timeline and they hover over your name and it gives them kind of like a snapshot as to what's going on your page, that's what a page preview is. How many new page likes you got, so how many people are coming through and liking your page, how many people you reach through your posts, and that's the number of unique people, because we have to remember the difference between reach and impressions. We'll talk about that later, but post reach is the number of unique people that your page got in front of in the last 7, 28 days, whatever you pick. You can see the same for stories. Now, mind you, all of this has to have a minimum amount of information to be able to show you. So if you don't reach that minimum, you're not going to get numbers on this dashboard. So that's just something to be aware of. Like if I go to my page that I haven't posted on in probably a month, I would not have many of these numbers because there's not going to be sufficient data. So a post engagement is anytime somebody engages with your post. That can be a like, a click, an expand, a read more, a comment, a share. All of these things are considered engagements. You have to remember too, like if people click on your picture to make it bigger, that's an engagement. There's so many things that fall under engagement that people just don't think about. So you have to make sure that you're really understanding what those engagements are. So you can see that the engagement for this has gone down. Responsiveness is about how you interact with the messages that come through on your page. So if you get a direct message, are you replying within an hour? Are you replying at all? So you see responsiveness, which is how many that you respond to, and then your response time, which is about how long on average it takes you to respond to messages. You're going to also see how many video views you have. Specifically, Facebook measures 3-second video views for whatever that means. Having that in mind, remember that you should always have something that's going to catch people or some sort of call to action or branding or something happening within the first 3 seconds, because that's what Facebook is measuring. So you'll see how many 3-second video views you had right there, and your page followers. So page followers are different than page likes. People that like your page are going to get your posts every once in a while, but people that follow your page are going to get those posts in their feed more often. And then if you have any sort of e-commerce setup, you can see how many orders you got here. Okay, so let's talk about what we want to see here. So when you see red and green, automatically your mind is going, this is good and this is bad, right? And in some cases it might be. Some things you always need to take into consideration when you're looking at this summary is what happened last week, or what happened in the last 28 days versus what happened this week or in this 28 days. So if you just started a promo, for instance, you would want to look at today because you started that promo today versus yesterday. And that's what Facebook is going to show you on this if you change it to today right here. So if we started a promo today, we would want all of these numbers to be green, right? Because we're expecting an influx of traffic. And if we're not seeing that, we might need to go back to the drawing board and up our game, right? So those are the kinds of things that you need to always take into consideration when you're looking. Like if you did last 28 days in January and you compared it to December and you're an e-commerce store, obviously all your numbers are going to be down, and that's to be expected. So don't freak out. You can't just look at one number and decide whether or not things are going good or they're going poorly, right? This is just your overview. You can start to get more granular with things. If you go to the left-hand side, there are all these different views you can look at. So I just just clicked on followers, and you can see you have a lot more control over the time period when you go into these more granular views. So I can do 1 week, 1 month, 1 quarter, or I can do a custom setting, but I think you can only do 90 days at a time, I'm pretty sure. And you'll see your total followers, and ideally, you know, this page has already got a good amount of likes, so the likes are going to come in more slowly. But if you have a new page, ideally, you know, this would be a steeper line. This is pretty flat. I'm okay with that because we already have a pretty good following, and we're not necessarily out to try and grow the page right now. So I'm okay with this right now. Like I said, it looks pretty flat, and this is over the last, it looks like, month. So this is 1 month's time. And you can see we started at 6702, and we're projected as of today to have 6742. So that's actually really not that bad. That's about, well, that's 40 new followers in the past month. So I'm okay with that. You can also see this line that shows you how many new followers you've got versus how many you've lost. And I like this a lot because what it tells you to do when you see these spikes, right? You see this massive spike right here. What you can do is go back to that day and see what happened on that day to get your new followers. For instance, did you have a post that got shared a lot? Because if so, that's a very good reason to get new followers. And you know that whatever piece of content got shared a lot is content that's exciting to people and share worthy. So you can create more of that content if you're looking to grow your page and get more followers, right? So always look for where those peaks are. Same thing where you're losing followers. Did you post too many times in that day? That's always a possibility. Did you post something that was controversial? You know, there are a lot of different reasons you could lose likes, but I always like to look for the spikes, and then I go back to that day and see what happened. Did you have an ad running at that time? You'll see there are different colors for paid versus organic followers. So that's usually pretty easy to follow. But again, look for those spikes, look for the trends. You can do the same. So if you move this to a quarter, oh, okay, so it is more than 90 days. You can see, you know, all of these. So March 18th, 10th, 2nd. So all of these are about a week apart. So there is a pattern here. And I can see that usually I gain the most followers on, what is that, like a Saturday or something like that, right? So that's always something to look into. Pretty interesting. This is also a pretty cool view. So where your page follows happened. Again, so you find those spikes. So like this, we got 5 new followers. And I can see that the majority of them came from on my page, an uncategorized desktop, which when you look at that, yeah, you can see. That's probably where a lot of them look like. And it looks like uncategorized desktop is where the majority of them come from. That's usually just people browsing, going through their timelines, things of that nature. They kind of stumble onto your page. But we are okay with that because it looks like that's where we're getting a lot of our follows right now. And you can look by follow type and see where you're getting the most. Again, if you see a spike here, so like I see a big spike right here, like what did we do on December 28th that led to a lot of people finding us in search, right? So these are all things to look into. So you get the same thing for page likes. So you can see we started at 4549 and right now we're at 4570. So again, a pretty decent amount of new likes. It's still pretty flat, which is to be expected. Here is our spike again. So we got a lot of new followers and a lot of new organic likes on that day. So we look into that. And it looks like a lot of these likes happened right here on the page. So, you know, you can actually like a page from your news feed. You can like it from suggestions or search or something like that. So this is something to look for. Again, if you're running like a contest or something where a lot of people are sharing your post, like are people coming to your page to like your page, or are they just doing it in their newsfeed? Because if they come to your page, they've got a better idea of who you are, and it might be a more quality page like, versus if somebody's just liking it in their newsfeed, or if it's just a page that's been suggested to them. Ideally, for me, I would like to see people coming to the page and liking it, just because it is a better lead in my eyes. Okay, let's talk about reach. So again, remember, reach is the number of unique users that you've gotten in front of. They have by post, and they have it broken down by organic and paid. There are 2 different shades of this color, which is orange, but it's 2 different shades of orange, so you can see where your paid spikes are and where your organic spikes are. So we had an organic spike here, so I could look onto March 5th to see what happened. So we'll remember that in a second. We'll go look at it. So on March 5th, we had a spike of organic page reach. So we reached 1,500 unique users on March 5th. That is insane in the membrane. That's awesome. Story reach, again, we don't post many stories on this page. Reactions, comments, shares, so you can see where that engagement is coming. So March 5th, we had a lot of reactions and we had a lot of comments on our post, which is why we reached so many people organically, because the more people interact with your posts, the more they show up, because the algorithm favors things that start conversation, right? Zuckerberg talked about in Facebook 2020. Actually, he's been saying this since 2018, that he wants Facebook to be a place of community and conversation. And if people are having conversations on your posts, Facebook is going to put that in the algorithm more because they see that conversation happening in your comments, right? Not too surprising that whatever we posted that day had a lot of comments and reactions, and even a few shares, about 9 shares. That's awesome. Reactions, you can see the different kinds of reactions you got. If people were hiding your posts, that's important, because if you're putting out things that people are hiding, they still follow you, but they start to hide your posts, then you're not going to get in front of them very often. So you want to make sure that you can see. So we had 2 people on March 5th hide our posts. So again, we're going to look into March 5th and see what happened that day. People could be following you and most of them could be hiding your posts, and then you're not really getting in front of them, so it doesn't really matter. So always look at this number too. And total reach is everything with your stories and your posts, right? That's how you get your total reach. So let's go look at March 5th. So that page views is about the same. Page previews is about the same as your likes, followers, and reach. All of those numbers are going to be pretty similar, and charts are going to be pretty similar to what we've just seen on this screen. But let's go see what happened on March 5th. So if we go to posts, you'll see a breakdown of all of the content. So we're going to scroll down to March 5th. What did we post on March 5th? Aha. So this post right here, I'm going to pull it up. So this was a live video this is how Brian does his podcasts. And so when we look at this, we can see that there were only about 17 people viewing. That's the most people that were viewing it live at one time, but it got over 1,700, almost 1,800 3-second views, over 700 10-second views, over 140 1-minute views. This had a lot of comments, a lot of shares. And the reason this was because it was, 1, it was very relevant to what's happening now. 2, it was a really good episode, if I do say so myself. There was some money put behind this post. So about 2,500 people were reached because of the money that was put behind it. So Facebook boosting that video in people's timelines. But there were about 2,200 people that were reached organically. And because so many people were reached, the number of followers went up, number of page views went up, more people reacting, more people commenting. You can see, like I said, there were a lot of comments on this post, so it was very interactive. There's a lot of conversation happening in the comments, and some of these comments happened live, some of them happened after the fact. Another thing that went out on March 5th was the Amazon influencer page. We reached about 250 people with that. Every person that you can reach is a win because you're getting in front of people. This is really good for branding and awareness, especially. Every post is going to be different. The goal of every post should be different. All of them should be a part of a bigger campaign, but the goal of every post is different. So for this one, we were actually wanting clicks. If I click on the post, I can see all of the engagements that happened on here. There were 11 link clicks. So for us, this is a good thing because 11 people went and viewed the Amazon influencer store and maybe they bought, I don't know, I don't have access to those analytics, and that's something to go over another day, but I can see that, out of the 200 and about 50 people that reached it, about, let's see, well, I can't do the math because I'm recording on my phone, but that's a good amount of people clicking the link. So I am a-okay with that. And we didn't put any money behind it. So that's awesome. Something to look for on this page, other than what happened on March 5th, now that we know what happened there, we can kind of focus on what this page is actually used for. When people say make sure you post when your audience is online, this is where you want to go. It's a funky place for it. I understand that, but this is where all that information lives. So you're going to go on the left-hand side and go to that posts, make sure you're here, and you'll see when your fans are online. And this is important because you want to post when they're online so that they interact with your posts right away, because the quicker people start interacting with your post and the more they interact with your post, again, the more Facebook is going to bump you up in the algorithm and make sure people are seeing your post. So you can see here, there are not very many of our fans are online at 1 in the morning, but they are most active around 1 p.m. Now, again, it's important that you see this. It says insights for time of day are shown in Pacific time zone. So Brian is actually on Eastern, which means we add 3 hours to that, so it's about 4 p.m. his time. So when he goes to schedule posts, he needs to keep that in mind because on average, most of his people are online at that time. You can actually see specifics too on like each day. So if he's gonna put a post out today is Friday, it looks like he needs to post around whatever time this is, which is 1 p.m. So about 4 p.m. his time. And again, like I said, you can do this day to day. You can see the line changes a little bit. Most of the time it doesn't change too much, but you can see, you know, people, this line trends down on Tuesdays. That's kind of our lowest day for people being online. While our highest is probably a Saturday. What types of posts get the most engagement? Shared video gets a lot of engagement. Our video just in general gets a lot of engagement, clicks on average, and it reaches the most amount of people. This is not surprising to me because Facebook favors video. Most platforms right now are favoring video, but you can see for yourself how your videos are doing. So what's actually interesting here for me to see is that Brian's links are actually outperforming his photos, which is a little bit unusual, but good to know. So we know that we can get away with posting links on this page. And like I said, so you can go through here and see, you know, just through a quick scroll, what is performing the best. In this post, like I said, without a doubt was the best performing. But this post was really good as well. This had no money put behind it. Let's see, the blue is reactions, right? The blue is clicks, the red is reactions. You can change this up here, by the way, so I can say reactions versus comments and versus shares. So I'm gonna do that real quick. So this post that performed really well, 70 reactions, 19 comments, and 2 shares. I'm into that. That did really, really well. For 2 shares, that still reached a lot of people. Usually you see your reach numbers go through the roof whenever you have shares, but this only had 2 shares and we still reached 1,200 people. I'm cool with that. That's awesome. Okay, so that's your posts. If you do any sort of events, you can go to your event page. I'm not going to do that because we don't post any events, so I'll have to pick another page to do the events tab with at some point, and I will do that for you. We did skip actions on page, so for Brian, this could be really important because he does have website and action buttons on here, but it looks not too terribly many people are clicking on those call to action buttons. You know, we can see he's had about 3 website clicks in over 6 months, and his action buttons have gotten, you know, maybe 10 clicks. But if this is how you're driving the majority of your traffic is through your call to action buttons, then you would want to monitor this pretty closely. Phone numbers, this is big for like salons, travel, things of that nature. Again, not too important for us, but you can also, you know, do it by age and gender, city, country, device. This is important for those people that do get a lot of interaction here, because remember, we don't get this information if we don't have a lot of data because Facebook is trying to protect people's information. Okay, so the only other thing I want to look at on Page Insights right now is the People tab. This is really, really important to understand who is following you. If you're reaching your target market, if you have an unidentified group of people that are into your product that you haven't had in mind to be using your product or needing your product. So this is really cool. So obviously it has your split, your gender split, which is important to some people, not so much to others. You also see the age split, and this is just our fans, the people that have liked our page. So we can see, like I said, demographic splits here. where they are country-wise, city-wise, and what language they speak. You can also do this for your followers and see how that's different. More men follow us than women. There's a bigger difference between followers and fans. People reached. We reach far more men than we do women, it looks like. And then people engaged. This is a pretty close split, and you can see too the age difference here. We skew a bit older when it comes to engagement. Not very surprising. These are patterns that I see on a lot of people's pages. And you can see too, the United States is pretty high, Australia, United Kingdom. So like Australia, when it comes to reach, we don't reach near as many people from Australia as we do United Kingdom, Canada, but those are the people that tend to engage with us the most. So this is something to take into consideration. Maybe next time Brian tries to book something, he should really focus on this Australian target because they're interacting with his stuff a lot more. So this is just the world's quickest rundown of page insights. If you have any questions, please put them down below. I would love to answer them for you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, heart, pen, do all of the things here. Click the little ring button so that you get notifications every time a new video comes out. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time.